go over the focus of the conference, the research conference, and the titles of the research papers. So I would like to offer a few remarks on the idea of how we need to reconceptualize
sound add பண்ணுங்க நீங்க
the notion of development and notion of construction in the contemporary international
வால்யூமை இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணுங்க
economic and political context. Can you all hear me? Yeah? First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers for this the great, the grand, very ambitious project, but doable. At the same time, I would like to indicate or point out three major challenges, three major international or global challenges that we are going to face, that we are going to encounter in implementing this huge, ambitious project. And the first major challenge is we really do not have any agency. We really do not have any autonomy or sovereignty in the areas where I live in majority in Sri Lanka. Any powerful, organically capable of development projects need to be based on the idea of ownership of the people, and the autonomy and sovereignty of those people. That is one of the key issues that we are facing and we will face, and it is not a very special, unique thing for us. There are more than 350 nations without states in all over the world. They have the same problem. There's will, there's a political will, they have economic power, but they couldn't do it. They cannot do it simply because no ownership, no sovereignty, and no power. That is one of the challenges. And the second challenge is the entire global south. When I mean global south, that means countries that are not rich. They are completely dependent on the Washington consensus. That is, every single country in the global south is completely dependent when it comes to economy on the US, European Union model and the system, implemented through IMF. They cannot escape. It's a kind of a fundamental issue, challenge. How we can do an autonomous project when the whole country is totally independent, dependent on IMF. And what we call, that came as a result of Washington consensus in the 1940s and the dominance of the US dollar. There's one simple example would do the challenge. Imagine that the diaspora, all of us, we are going to donate most important, powerful medical instruments to the hospitals in the Northern East. As you know, there will be 18% value-added tax. It goes into millions and millions of rupees. But the government should have the power to waive this tax, but they have already signed a contract with IMF that they wouldn't do it. So no power at all for the government. 18% value-added tax, even for an emergency ambulance, all the kind of hospitals. There are lots of examples. I do not want to go into detail. This is challenge number 2. Challenge number 3 is a bit theoretically complicated, but I will try to explain. So far, all the countries, whether they are developed or undeveloped, they have been following a development model, what we called neoliberal Anthropocene model. Do not get scared of this term Anthropocene. Anthropocene simply means human-centered. Everything is so human, but I shouldn't be using the term human because from 1940s onwards, all the major charters, constitutions, and the UN Declaration all use the word men. So the women are out. There is no gender parity. So this Anthropocene model simply means we place the humans at the center of everything, at the expense of nature, at the expense of other species, at the expense of other animals, trees, plants. This completely separates the humans from the ecology. So any kind of system that is based on this Anthropocene model will not help us. We need to rethink the entire development model. The neoliberal Anthropocene model, which everyone has been practicing, the underlying point is everything ought to be sold for a profit. Nothing should be free. We have all signed the treaty in 1940s, all the way. That is the affordable housing and clean running water and free education is a fundamental human right. How many water bottles out there? This is what I mean, the major challenge. If we cannot simply think out of the box and come up with an idea how we can challenge this neoliberal Anthropocene model, then we are not going to go that far. Man will come there. Everything is for men. And quickly, what are the options? Do we have any alternatives? In the case of the northern East Sri Lanka, when it comes to development, reconstruction, etc., there is a huge possibility in the diaspora. I would argue we cannot simply separate diaspora and the people that live in the northern East. They are two sides of the same coin. I know that there are really, really bad stereotypes out there about the diaspora people. And we also have certain kind of stereotypical ideas of the people that live in home. They are dependent. Every time they call and they are asking for money. Those stereotypes should not go. We should not believe in those stereotypes. The common stereotype that I hear from all my relatives and friends in Sri Lanka is that you guys have left us while we were going through pain and war, and now you guys live comfortably and you're helping us. So that is one of the standard stereotypes. We all, in Tamil, what we call Odukaligal, runaways. But then I tell them that is not completely true. When the genocide happens, there's an idea, what we call the remote genocide stress, or remote conflict stress, or the remote war stress. We are not there, but how many of us know? How many of us went completely in pain, lost their mind? So the pain is shareable, but the degree is different. That is something that is a stereotype we need to eliminate. The second stereotype is that we in the diaspora, we should not think that we are just simply giving money, supporting all kinds of projects, that we have the say in their politics. We cannot appropriate their voices. We cannot speak for them. We can only speak to them, We can only speak next to them. One positive and possible diaspora contribution could be, as all of you know, we have about 300 home village associations, Urchangangal, and alumni association. In 2008, a research paper came out that listed the organization, calculated the amount they sent back to the Northern East. That is more than the Canadian government could spend through SIDA. Enormous. In a similar way, in Norway, in Germany, and all the other countries where Tamil diaspora is powerful, there's a huge amount of money. But the problem is, we do not have a think tank, transnational think tank, or an organization to coordinate and manage and make sure that it's accountable and democratic. So my wish is that this, at the end of the conference, if we could come up with a think tank or an idea how we can coordinate and organize this very powerful contribution of the diaspora. And I wouldn't even want to call it diaspora because the concepts have changed. We have moved from diaspora to transnational communities. The diaspora has become very complicated. Not all the diasporas are suffering from pain. We have settled. There are a certain amount of pain, but we are very comfortable transnational communities. We simultaneously belong to more than one country, more than one culture, more than one history, and more than one language. And finally, my last point is what Shelva talked about, the demographic deficit. Of course, we have democratic deficit, that's a different story. They're talking about the demographic deficit. The pull and push factors for migration, out-migration, it is extremely high in the north and east of Sri Lanka. People are migrating. People are still migrating. We all say Indaman Dangal Sundaman, but we are running away from things. We cannot blame them, but we need to find some strategic answers to how we can mend or reconfigure this demographic deficit. The one possible way to do is to think about the other transnational communities and diasporas from Croatia, from Italy, and from various other countries, how they convince their governments that they should be allowed to vote, participate in the national elections in their countries. Because of that, in the Croatian presidential elections, the diaspora has the power to change the president. There's so large number of people living in Canada and the US, and their vote counts. So one of the ways, strategic ways for the politicians and the others in Sri Lanka to think about it, how we can make a situation where dual citizenship, if people prefer it, it's going to be cheaper, and we should have the right to vote, even if we are not there. That is going to be a counterpoint. But I have been saying it since 2002. No one really takes it seriously. I know there are certain structural, technical problems, but that is one of the ways that we need to do. We can creatively conceptualize how we can make the democratic deficit, if not completely go, but at least manageable. And there are lots of other remarks, and I hope I will be sharing those remarks in the coming years. And thank you so much, and congratulations, and good night.